Hello and welcome to It Takes a Village. My name is Tuesdaé Knight and I'm the president and CEO of SAGE, also known as San Antonio for the Growth on the East Side. It Takes a Village is an intimate discussion with prominent community business leaders like our dear friend Eric Cooper, who is here with us today. He is the president and CEO of the San Antonio Food Bank. Eric, thank you for being with us today.
Tuesdaé, I am just so excited to be with you, and thank you for your leadership on the East Side and all that you're doing for our community. So, man, when you asked me to come on, I jumped at the chance.
Well, we really appreciate it. Thank you. So, viewers, let me tell you a little bit about our very dear Eric Cooper. So, as the president and CEO of the San Antonio Food Bank, the largest hunger relief organization in Southwest Texas, he has been running programs throughout this pandemic and has been feeding hundreds and hundreds, probably even thousands of people every single day. So he has been here in San Antonio, and during his tenure has grown to more than 230 employees. He increased food distribution from 10 million pounds to more than over 61 million pounds, and increased the number and impact of its programs and much more. Under Eric Cooper's leadership, San Antonio Food Bank was awarded Food Bank of the Year in 2007 by Feeding America, the national network of 200 plus food banks. He's also at the University of Utah. Eric Cooper is the recent winner of the Feeding America's John Van Hengel Award, in which he recognizes an executive of a member food bank for excellence in leadership, local impact, and national influence, and entrepreneurial spirit in the area of hunger relief. Now, I don't know about you, but if you saw any of the television newscasts of the food bank and all their distribution, you saw them with lines and lines of people. And so, Eric, that was a difficult time and you did a lot of work, but let's start off first with all the people you've served. How are you doing?
Well, thank you for checking in. I am so inspired by our community. The pandemic brought unprecedented demand, but we saw an unprecedented response when it came from individuals and families and corporations, foundations, everybody stepping up to help their neighbor. It was so incredible to see our community shine. It takes sometimes a crisis or a disaster to pull people together. And it's been a tough year. There's been a lot of loss. I mean, when you think about loss of lives, loss of jobs, loss of experiences, people giving up time with their family and loved ones. And, we won't get those things back. But, what we've gotten, I think, is a greater sense of connectivity in a time that we're physically distant, right? It's so incredible to see when someone selflessly serves someone that is here in our city that is in need. And, I just can't help but be inspired by that.
And you take care of yourself how?
Well, I've been so incredibly blessed with an amazing wife and 5 kids, and all heading in different directions. But they truly bless me and give me purpose. And I believe in a lot of the principles that Stephen Covey teaches. You want to make sure that you're physically taking care of yourself. So I do my best to eat right and exercise. Stay intellectually strong. Read those books and keep learning. The emotional side, as I mentioned, relationships are so huge to nurture us. But then be spiritually grounded, stay connected. Faith is a big part of my life, and just knowing that I can do only what I can do, and then turn the rest over to God. And it is just trying to always work hard, but also play hard, keep balance. And it's hard sometimes, and this pandemic has brought me a little out of balance from time to time, but I tend to start to make my way back towards center, and feeling good at the moment.
Oh, that's great. That's all we can do is be in the moment right now, I think. And so thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful and powerful. So now let's move on to the food bank. So you bring all of this energy and care, and I heard you have 4 points of the food bank. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
That's right. The 4 things that the food bank needs desperately is what we call food, time, money, and voice. Now, those 4 things, when it comes to food, most people know you can always donate a non-perishable food item. You can drop those off in our red barrels throughout the year at different campaigns, promotions. You can also drop that off at the San Antonio Food Bank or go to our website to find a location. But if you're in the food industry, if you're working at a restaurant, a hotel, caterer, if you are in the grocery business or manufacturing, or even a farmer, you can always donate those food and non-food items to the San Antonio Food Bank. The second thing that we need most is time. And I want to thank your team for donating their time at the AT&T Center, where we served over 1,000 families that came through the line. Volunteers make the world go around, and we love our volunteers. And our food bank will take all ages, all abilities. Tuesdaé, I'm so humbled. We're the largest recipient of special needs volunteers. And they come, they serve, kids come, families come, corporations come, civic groups, all size groups are welcome. We have them work either in our warehouse, packing boxes, in our kitchens, making meals, in our farm, either at the warehouse farm or out at Mission San Juan, or as your team did, out doing our distributions. There's lots of different activities that people can do. And I promise you, the best way to feel better about yourself is to serve someone else. And when you're out volunteering, it makes a huge difference. All you do is go to our website, click the volunteer button, and you're on your way. The third thing that we need is funds. Now, all nonprofits, including yours, needs support. And it's the dollars that people invest. But I'm so excited that, our board set kind of some guidelines for me 20 years ago that the food bank operates on just 2% administrative overhead. So we use the term, we squeeze the buffalo off the nickel. And we want to make sure that we are efficient in delivering impact. And then the last thing that we need is voice. And when we say that, that just means your social media, right? You're watching this today. If you'll share the link to this so that others can learn about the San Antonio Food Bank, others can learn about hunger and how to get involved and how to respond. The other way we can raise our voice is in advocacy work. So important to make sure that we've got good public policy that helps families when they're struggling. And so reaching out to our elected officials and sharing what you know about families that struggle and how those federal and state and local programs help them. And then lastly, raising your voice in prayer, offering blessings to those in their moment of crisis go a long way. And so food, time, money, and voice always needed at the food bank. And we're just so grateful for those that give.
Those are 4 amazing things. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well, also, Eric, as of today's recording, it has been a little over a year since the Traders Village food distribution. This event received national attention and followed with a huge outpouring of support from around the country and especially here in San Antonio, even more so than normal. So talk to us about that event, the support, and how the event set the tone for all of the rest of the year going forward.
Well, Tuesdaé, I always think of this principle of acknowledgement and recognition. And I'm kind of the guy that really hates that, right? You just kind of want to keep moving. But there is something incredibly special when those that you love and those that you care about are proud of you. It makes it so sweet. And I think, that moment in time, if we go back a year ago, we didn't understand what the virus really was going to do. We didn't, think, our paradigm was just different. And there was so much fear and so much anxiety. And so quickly, our world started to unravel and people were losing their jobs and there was no food at the grocery stores. And we started to see our demand just rise. Now, to be honest, our support was actually dropping. A lot of the food that we'd typically get from restaurants and hotels, because of their closures, we weren't getting that food. And because HEB and Walmart and Costco were selling out of food so quickly, our trucks that pick up there every day were not getting the volume we used to get. And we went from feeding 60,000 people a week before the pandemic to 120,000 people a week. And so it was that doubling in demand with that shrinking supply that honestly had us panicked. I mean, worried that we were going to run out of food. And we were trying to get these distributions going. And they typically pre-pandemic would serve 200 to 400 families. They were then serving 2,000 to 4,000 families. And we thought, well, we'll serve 6,000 at Traders Village. Well, what ended up happening was 10,000 families came to get food that day, 50,000 people. It was the largest domestic food distribution in America. And it said in that photo what the data and statistics couldn't, right? It gave an image of what the pandemic was going to do. It was going to threaten us at our core. It was going to take away things that are so basic. And, but that there is hope, there is support out there. And, food banks across the world were experiencing that same issue. There were long lines in New York to LA. There were lines in other nations, in Venezuela, in Brazil. And to have that photo go and be, on the New York Times and the London Times and, New Zealand and Israel. And, I was on Dr. Phil, it was like crazy, but so goes San Antonio, so goes the world, right? And what a privilege it was to be able to set an example of response, humbling that it's need, right? And we've known our cities had struggle well before the pandemic. We've got a lot of work to do, right? I mean, we have to commit now to change our destiny. Our destiny needs to be free of all of the things that plague our community. And so poverty is a big part of that. Racism is a big part of that. And we have to stand up to it. We just have to. We need a place where everyone thrives. And that's what I pray our destination ultimately is.
And there was a lot of movement around a lot of those issues that you talked about last year and carried over into this year. And so the food bank actually does so much more than food distributions, even though we had that great response and so many people that needed you. Tell me about the other services of the food bank.
Well, Tuesday, I think sometimes the bigger the stage, the bigger the sermon, right? And shame on me if all I do is talk about a non-perishable canned good. When we've got our moment, we need to talk about, what is real and what hits people in the core. And, for 28 years, I've been doing this. In the last 2 decades, our typical client is female. She's working, she's doing all she can to take care of her 2 kids, but she doesn't make enough to make ends meet. We have to get wages up. We have to support individuals with a meaningful employment opportunity that has access to healthcare, that has access to personal time off when they're sick. My clients, it's interesting because I think of like this pandemic, right? And when people are saying, hey man, temperature at the door, if you got a fever, don't come in. My clients have always gone to work sick. They always have, because they have to. If they don't show up, they can't make rent. And I know for you and I who enjoy a benefits package that allows us to take a day off when we do have a fever, when we are sick, that doesn't threaten our income, that's a privilege, but that's a privilege that I think more need to have, and more need to be able to know that they can make it through life here in our city, work hard and sustain themselves and their families. So a lot of our programs are really targeting that work. So we bucket in 3 areas of what we call food for today, food for tomorrow, and food for a lifetime. Most people know our food for today work, and that's the work that is getting people either groceries or a meal. And that's through our partner pantries or through our pop-up distributions like your staff came to and that people saw at Traders Village, or our meal distributions where we're providing ready to eat meals to families and individuals. That's today. But we also take families through the application process for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, for moms with small children, WIC. Sometimes people lack access to healthcare, so Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program. We also help seniors with long-term care. We do utility assistance in some counties throughout the service territory. We actually serve 29 counties here in Southwest Texas, so it's much more than San Antonio. But our food for tomorrow work is actually economically much bigger than our food for today work. And in the last 12 months, our food for today work distributed close to $160 million in food. It'll be several $100 million in benefits through our tomorrow work. And then the last phase is really our food for a lifetime work. And that is, if someone came in because their refrigerator's empty, we got them food for today, we got them enrolled in SNAP for tomorrow, but then it's about workforce development, job training, job placement when we think lifetime work. How can we move people to self-sufficiency and self-reliance? And that is that meaningful living wage and a sustainable job. It's also part of our lifetime work to get people nutrition education, because we truly believe with diet, with good nutrition, that we can heal the world, right? So many of our chronic diseases here in the city, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, even obesity, that's a nutrition issue. The right food, right amount, right time is what the food bank's trying to line up and help people thrive. It's a privilege to pull people to the table for a meal, but using that, pulling people to the table to transform, to be catalytic, to bring in partners like your organization, to work with the food bank in ways to help our communities really get to the destination that we all want to be in, is a privilege to be a part of, and really the work of the food bank.
No, that's great. Well, that's great. So are people watching, if they are moved by anything you've said, which they should be, what can they do to help?
The simplest place is go to safoodbank.org. That's our website. And if you'd like to give food, time, money, voice, you could do that. If you're listening now and you need help, please reach out. You can go through those steps of today, tomorrow, and a lifetime to get assistance, to learn about all the different programs. And Tuesday, I didn't get the chance to really talk about our culinary schools and our farm and garden work.
Yes, the farm and garden. I've been there. Yes, tell us about that. Tell us about that.
Well, it is so important for all of us to think about where our food comes from and know that we can work on self-sufficiency and self-reliance on our back patio, in our backyard. You can plant a fruit tree and you can grow your own food. And oftentimes when we do that, we have a little bounty that we can share with a neighbor and bring folks together. We grow hydroponically, we grow aquaponically, and then we have our conventional farming. It is so much fun to learn. So if you do have time and you'd like to learn about the best crops of South Texas, what you need to be doing to your soil, just come and volunteer. Our farm and garden staff, what we're growing most is knowledge. And we grow a lot of cabbage, vegetables, all that good stuff, but it is so much fun to be out there with them. You can also get involved, in our distributions. I think I want to highlight what your team did, because I believe that the food bank serves the entire community, those with resources and those without. We serve both. And when we're serving those with resources, we're allowing them, giving them the opportunity to give their time. And when they're doing that, they're living in their finest hour. they're becoming selfless. They're sharing, they're caring, they're worried less about themselves and thinking about others. And when we do that, we heal. What's broken inside of us starts to transform. And it's incredible to see that. And, I know I'm not going to solve hunger with that canned good. It's really building a city of compassion. It's a city that loves. And when people can see and understand, I'm going to say that again, see and understand. I think Confucius said, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. But what I do, I understand. And when we can get more people doing, as your team did, they see their neighbors and they're compelled. And when they're compelled, that's when change starts to happen. And if we're going to hit the root causes of why people struggle, it's going to have to come through people with compassion that want to do the right thing and help a neighbor. And so, again, it is just such a wonderful thing to be a part of this work and to work with you and others around that table to make our city better.
Well, Eric, thank you so very much for being with us here today. We hope that you have, again, as always, continue to inspire the community to come in and do and serve and give. So thank you very much, Eric Cooper, for all of your work and for being with us today. So viewers, please continue to watch our It Takes a Village. This is our way of getting our community leaders out to you so that you can understand the programs and services that are available in San Antonio, and to understand that San Antonio, there are people that care. And Eric Cooper is one of them. So thank you again, Eric Cooper, for being here. And so we are going to keep these conversations going. If you've missed any of the previous shows, you can go to sagesa.org and look at any of the last shows. But we will continue to do these outside of even when the pandemic is over, because they are so impactful and so important to get this information. So again, Eric, thank you for being here. And to all of our viewers, please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay Eastside strong.